kind of, in terms of how we're all wired,
Sure.
how does actually meditation even begin to enter your life? Because I know how you...
In brief, yeah, growing up very intense, very aggressive, 100 miles an hour, type A personality, even in the business world out of college, consulting, software sales, things like that. I reached a point where I was just, you felt like you were going to explode constantly. It didn't matter what you were doing. Everything was 100 miles an hour, and you had to be the best. You had to win. You just had to be the best.
That's how we grew up, right?
What's that?
That's how we grew up.
That's how we grew up. And I was good at it, and everything I did, I was successful, and I was always the best at everything I did. But no matter what level I reached, I always wanted more. I always had to be better, faster, stronger. And I just pushed myself, and eventually realized I gotta stop, or I'm gonna, my head's gonna explode.
And I'm still not happy. So
right, and I'm still not happy. I got all this money, I got all this stuff, and I'm still not happy. So, for me, it was 20 years old in college, and a psych professor said you should try some meditation. And, nothing else that was healthy and free seemed to work or calm me down. So I tried it, helped me out. I was, at that time, counseling adolescent females, all who'd been physically, sexually, emotionally abused in a group home, and I started to share it with them. And we'd sit for 5 minutes, we'd close our eyes, we'd take breaths, we'd open our eyes. 5 minutes later, and the whole world I call it the look like you got hit across the face with a 2x4, because you're just stunned when you sit and close your eyes for 5 minutes and breathe. And so I'd never experienced anything like that, and I saw it with these kids, and so that really got me started, 20 years ago.
Is that how long it's been?
Yeah, I started, so it was 1995 when I got introduced. I was, is that right? Yeah, 1995. I was 20 years old,
okay. And
I got introduced in college. And then in 2000, I finished college, consulting world for 7-8 years. And then when I was 20, in 2003, I started taking it to the prisons here in San Diego. And that was really where it began. And eventually, 5, 6, 7, maximum security, prisons to county jails, psychiatric units in prisons. And so it really started there, and then I find myself in schools, hospitals, victims of abuse, wounded warriors, homeless teens, a lot in the corporate world, you name it, just helping people deal with stress.
Let's go down a couple of those. When you're going to the jails,
sure.
Where do you begin with?
Well, it's funny because for me, you talk about this personality and this aggression, this anger, and this things that I had when I go into prison. As much as my mom hates to hear me say this, I feel comfortable in there. I think if I didn't have good parenting and good upbringing and
sure.
Loving parents who really kept an eye on me as much as they could, I could have just as easily with my anger and my aggression done something that might have led me in that direction. So I feel comfortable in there, and it's a very angry, violent place. And so to go in there for 20, 30, 40 minutes and have them calm down, they respond to it very well, and it's silent. For those 30, 40 minutes I'm in there, with those 40 guys, the place I'm at right now, it's just a peaceful place for 40 minutes.
The first time you go in there, is it like a roadblock that you kind of have to get through, and then they start to see some benefits?
You cut through it real quick. Okay. It's like dealing with wounded warrior population. Active military folks. They're intense. They're aggressive. Sitting within the military population, the prison population. It's different than going into maybe a senior center or sitting with 10-year-olds. So there is definitely an intensity that you have to bring. You cut through all the, you mentioned earlier about the Haight-Ashbury, you cut through all the, all that stuff that everybody thinks meditation is about, and you let them know, look, you're not going to feel the earth through your feet. You're not going to float. You're not going to have any magical experiences. You're just going to sit. Your head's going to drive you nuts for 5 minutes and spin and race, and you're going to learn to sit and deal with it. And so in many ways, in a quiet way, I bring that same level of intensity that I have just into sitting and doing nothing, which is interesting.
Oscar and I would like you to meet us at our house every morning.
Right. Yeah, you and everybody else who ask me to follow them around and just tell them to stop for, a few minutes.
Follow me around and tell me to calm down, please. So, being that you were a fired up guy,
yes.
Was there like a breaking point that you had to do this? And otherwise, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I woke up one morning, and this would have been in 2003. And I woke up one morning after going out one night and doing the typical, nightlife, downtown scene, going out, all night and running around, waking up the next day feeling like, crap, and we've all been there, and just said, I'm done. So I don't know, it wasn't like I hit a rock bottom or that I had any addictions or anything like that. I was just tired of that life, and I just woke up one morning and said, I'm done. I need to live a different way, and that kind of just clicked.
No, but that's cool because I feel like some people have to hit rock bottom in order to make that rebound, and that's kind of a troubling thing for me. Like, I really need to hit rock bottom in a certain thing before I can actually rebound. So it's nice.
No, I was, working, had a great job, making lots of money, coaching baseball, working from home, going into prisons, and I was living a good life. But still realized there's got to be something different. So I just drastically shifted the way I live my life. But it wasn't like there was some big event
which is good. I mean, if you don't need the big event, by all means.
Right. If you can catch it before you need the big event. Absolutely.
That's very nice. In terms of getting fired up now, that's something that I worry about too. Is that like losing that edge? How do you? I mean,
really, because the only sport that I'm really active in now at all is golf, and so if I think about the intensity with golf versus maybe baseball or team sports or things like that, it's very different. But your mental focus is still there. To me, intensity is really a mental focus that then comes out physically in different forms. And in golf, it's very slow, methodical, moment to moment, shot to shot. And so I can feel that intensity that's there, but it doesn't need to be pushed out in like a physical aggression form. So it's more of a mental focus and mental intensity. We'll see if I get back to coaching baseball someday, and I'm at the third base box and the umpire, makes a call that I probably don't agree with.
Why are you pointing over?
I'm just saying.
He didn't make any bad calls in his career.
He's an umpire. He's definitely made a bad call.
Why you got to be that way?
Yeah, he's making plenty.
Yeah, so we'll see when that happens. If I calmly walk down the line and ask the umpire to please look at that again, or if I scream and yell. I can't see it either. So we'll have to see.
In terms of when you first start, do you just detach yourself from those situations that maybe caused you that headache in the first place, or just because in terms of baseball, like being on a baseball field, I'm sure is going to bring up memories from when you were 5 years old.
Definitely,
and how you were wired.
Yes.
So was that conscious to just stay away for a while?
Yeah, early on, again, back at that time, I kind of pulled myself out of environments that I felt weren't going to be healthy for me, or that I was really going to, act out in more of an aggressive way. But then it kind of came back to where now I realize, like, for the most part, can be in any environment, any situation, and still stay pretty calm. I just don't really get angry. It doesn't mean I agree with everything that's happening,
right?
In the world or in your life, but I recognize it as what's happening, and I just don't get angry at anything anymore. I just realize we're all doing the best we can with what we got. And, even umpires, they're doing the best they can with what they got. So maybe that's it. Maybe I would still talk trash, but I would do it in a little bit of a wiser, more compassionate way.
Let's go sit down here on the first baseline and meditate
exactly.
for a minute. Let's meditate on that call for a minute.
Let's think about this call.
That's two.
We're talking strikes here.
Yeah, segment's next, so I got to get all my stuff out now.
That's a good point. Cross still references when you came over the house. You mentioned people reaching out to you.
Yes.
I was one of them. Said, Slot, I need you to come talk to me.
Yes.
So I thought it was a good thing for me with my son. Like for me, my I don't want to say breaking point, but for my why is I don't want him growing up like this. I want him to be comfortable. So I thought it would be cool if he sat down next to me.
Yes.
So talk us through what we did there.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the meditation, just in briefly, most of the stuff I do is outreach. We'll sit with thousands of people a year for free, getting everybody, as I say, to sit and do nothing for a few moments. But for those rare special occasions, special friends, I make house calls, and I'll come over and I'll sit with friends and their kids or family or whatnot. And it's really getting, especially if you're dealing with young kids, 4, 5, 7, 8 years old, getting them to understand that they can just sit and breathe for a few minutes and know what it's like to just kind of be quiet and breathe. And, I have little kids put their hands on their stomach and just kind of feel their stomach rise and feel their stomach fall. And for the adults, it's getting them to realize that the kids are not always going to be calm. We're not, as adults, always going to be calm. And so a lot of this is getting people out of this mode of thinking that all of a sudden everything has to be calm and perfect in your life. It's not. And so if you can teach kids to just breathe when they get upset, when they get angry, I got all these letters kids write, and a kid wrote years ago about, when he would do a skateboard trick and he wouldn't land it, he used to get angry and throw the board and scream and cuss and yell. And then he would just pick the board back up, and he would now, after doing meditation, he'd take a few breaths and he would go try to do the skateboard trick again. So it's more about applying the meditation into your everyday life and teaching kids and adults that just like we brush our teeth every day, why can't we take care of our mental, emotional health every day? It's the same thing. And usually it's so much later in life where we're like, man, I'm a mess, I need help.
Yeah, and I wish I would have done this when I was 5 years old. So that's why definitely introducing it to my son was like, okay, like, I figure he definitely gets it better than I do most of the time.
Yes.
Like if he sees me running around a little crazy or I'm like, I'm stressed out, but let's sit down on the edge of the bed, Bobby, and we sit there for a minute.
And it's easier for kids because, if we're 30 or 40 years old, we've been stressed out and angry and anxious for 30 to 40 years. If you're 7, you only got 7 years in. So
like, you didn't give me my cereal this morning. That's what I'm stressed out about.
Not getting Fruit Loops is a big deal, But so you teach them at that age that when life doesn't go your way, you don't have to scream and yell and kick and punch.
No,
you can just sit with it.
You also do something very cool, the TEDx talks with the youth. And when you explained that to me, it was cool. Like I didn't know if you actually just sat there and did it for them, but you mentioned coming in between breaks because they had speakers that were emotional that day. So
the most recent I've done the last 3 years, TEDx Youth San Diego, Sonia Rhodes, executive producer, does an amazing job. And this last time it was on some pretty heavy issues, sexual assault, rape, things like that, domestic violence, very heavy topics that are real in teenagers' lives as they, are, high school and going into college. And so while they were going through their TEDx youth event, during the break or, during kind of the middle of the section, I would come out and do just a 3-4 minute meditation to kind of get them all the emotional stuff they're going through, get them to calm down and come back to be present so they could then sit and listen to the rest of the event. But, I was up at Torrey Pines High School, 1,000 kids during their suicide prevention week, and getting that many kids in one room to be silent and do a meditation. Awesome. TEDx Youth was probably 400 kids. So getting that many kids quiet for a short period of time, they learn a ton. They learn that it's okay to just be quiet and pay attention to who they are.
Yeah, maybe they'll start teaching some of us growing up.
Right, that's the idea. Is I get the kids leading meditation, so then they can teach us.
Very cool. So what's next for you, Slot? What do you guys got coming
up? It's busy. As founder of the Meditation Initiative, it's been a 501c3 educational nonprofit since 2009. Website, my little plug, meditationinitiative.org. You can go meditate now. But coming up every day is something different. It's the weekly thing in the prison. It's pretty much weekly at the schools. It's working up at UCSD, recently La Jolla Country Day school. So every day I wake up and there's usually requests in my inbox somewhere for meditation somewhere.
Awesome.
And so I take it, it's free, and I go.
Just don't delete mine, okay?
Right, never. Yeah, yours gets starred and moved to the special inbox.
Don't butter me up now, Slider. Just don't delete me. Right?
Well, now that I know it's your buddies with New Kids on the Block, I'd move you into the spam folder.
Look at that. You try to get one. You're trying to fire back right now. All right, great stuff, Slot. I appreciate that. We're probably gonna need some more of you when we get back from the break.